Sabhapatibhyascha vo namaha. I thank Professor Padigar and the organizers to have given me this opportunity to stand before you for the second time. Now, revisiting the Kadamba inscriptions, and I would like to present, yesterday I presented before you an Excel sheet and you saw some columns. So perhaps today you are going to see some rows. Let us see how it looks. So I told you about the 66 inscriptions that we studied. 48 of them are copperplate charters and 18 stone inscriptions. And out of the stone inscriptions, 11 are free stones or are on walls. There are 5 pillars and 2 door jambs. And out of the copper plates, 6 copper plates are doubtful or spurious. So the number of genuine inscriptions comes to 60. Now, if you classify them ruler-wise, then Ravi Varman has contributed the most, 15 inscriptions. Then Mrugesha Varman, Krishna Varman too, of course, with the debate whether certain inscriptions pertain to Krishna Varman 1 or Krishna Varman 2. So Krishna Varman the second and Hari Varman 6 each. Then Shanti Varman, Vishnu Varman, Kakustha Varman and Mandatru Varman 3 each. Priyavrata and Krishna Varman 1, again with the debate, 2 each, and several other rulers with 1 each. And there are 4 inscriptions which either do not give any ruler or the ruler is not identified. So this is how the 66 inscriptions come into being. Now, I made a little calculation. So the number of plates in the Kadamba copper plates stands between 2 and 4. And the genuine charters are 42. So these 42 genuine charters, they comprise of 131 plates. They have 184 engraved surfaces and 786 lines altogether. So the average number of plates per charter comes to 3.12 and the average number of surfaces 4.38 and the average number of lines per charter 18.71, and you will appreciate that this is quite lower than most of the dynasties of India. The 18 stone inscriptions, they comprise of 144 lines. And even this number is low. Of course, all the stone inscriptions are not complete. Some of them are incomplete. So, but still I have counted them. Now, against this, the genuine copper plates and the spurious or doubtful copper plates. The 6 spurious or doubtful copper plate inscriptions have 20 plates and 30 engraved surfaces and as many as 160 lines. So the number of lines per inscription comes to about 27, which is quite higher than the genuine ones. Now, it is appreciated and recognized that the Kadambas inherited writing or inherited many things from the Pallavas, and so this is a comparison of the Hirihadagalli plates of Shivaskanda Varman and Aratalagadde plates of Priyavrata Varman. But you can find that a later inscription, you may say, the India office plate of Vakataka Devasena, which is actually in the same format, 3 lines, just like the Shivaskanda Varman plates have 3 lines. So similarly, this plate also has 3 lines. And also the size of the plates matches very well. Now what about the size of the Kadamba plates? So the maximum length that you come across, and I have kept the figures in inches only because they are taken in olden times. So the maximum length is 9 inches and the minimum is 5.2 inches. The maximum breadth is 2 5/8 inches and the minimum length is 1 3/8 inches. So that is the range of the size of the plates actually. Now what is the median? Most of the Kadamba charters measure around 6 inches in length and 2 inches are in breadth, but that is rough. They are very thin, resembling almost palm leaves. Okay, and the most important thing is that the early Kadamba charters, most of them, they weigh less than 1 kilogram, including the seal and the ring. So they are quite lightweight, and they must have done them, executed them quite skillfully. Now let us go to the matter of the inscriptions. So the Jaina, about the invocatory verses. So there are 4 invocatory verses that I found in the Jaina inscriptions. Then I have named it as Pauranika. There may be different name, no issue. But there are 6 Vaishnava invocatory verses, 4 Shaiva verses. There is a verse for Brahma, the masculine god. There is one verse for Trimurti, Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh. There is a verse for Madana, and also for Brahman, that is neuter. And of course there is one Buddhist invocatory verse. Now this verse, Jayati Bhagavan Janendro Gunarundra Prathita Paramakaranikaha Trailokya Shwasakari Daya Patako Chita Yasya. You will find that this verse has been actually made bold because it gets repeated. Hardly any other verses get repeated in the Kadamba inscriptions. Now this is against the stereotype invocatory verses and the formulae that you find in the later inscriptions, including those of the later Kadambas. Then the second verse, Tyarhans Trilokeshas Sarvabhuta Hite Ratah Ragadi Ariharo Ragadyariharo Nanto Nantadnyana Drigishwara. Then there is a third verse, and the last verse is very important. Vibhava Malajala Shitala Niyata Chhaya Pramoda Bhaga Vibhagi Jayati Jayaka Sthanam Tribhuvana Sakala Tapabhiva Sadharma. So it is in a different meter, and the meter is of the group of the Arya. Now 6 invocatory verses, and to your astonishment, as it is for my astonishment, the verse that is very popular later on and almost a stereotype verse, Jayatyavishkrutam Vishnor Varaham Kshobhitaranamam, is missing from here. You don't find it in any early Kadamba charters. So Jayati Shri Parishwanga Shanga Vyanatirachyutah Danavashnor Yugantagnihi Shishtanantu Sudarshana. Very beautiful verses. Arjitam Bhagavata Tena Vishnuna Yasya Vakshasi Shri Swayam Bhati Devascha Nabhi Padme Pitamaha. So again it refers to Brahma and Lakshmi. Okay. So various verses are there. Jayatyambuja Gehaya Patir Vishnu Sanatana Varaha Rupena. Here you find the mention of Varaha. And also there is another verse in which you find the mention of Vamana in the Shivaldi plates. Vamana Chadmana Gudha Balam Balidam Achyutam, etc. Now you have Varaha and Vamana, but there is no Nrsimha, at least in the plates that are available at present. So there is no Matsya, there is no Narasimha, but there are certain incarnations. Okay. Now about Shaiva verses, or those that are made for the Shiva, for Shiva. So Jayati Vishwadeva Sanghat Nichitaika Murti Sanatana Sthanuhu Sthanurinda Rashmi Vichurita Dhyutimad Jata Bhara Mandana. And then the long verse which occurs in the Talagunda inscription, Murdhinyastam Shashinama Sakalam Ganga Sangachira, etc. So it's a very long verse. And of course there are short verses. One of them is actually not complete, so you'll have to guess what exactly it should be there. Now there is a very beautiful verse for Buddha. There is one Buddhist inscription. So Jayatyamita Gunabhrud Buddha Sattva Samashraya Shuddhodana Kulod Bhutaha Padmapatra Nibheshana. And Brahma masculine, that is Brahma God. Jayati Surasura Mukuta Pranihita Manikirana Khachita Charana Yoga. So that is again an Arya. And a very short second line, because there are a lot of gurus in that. Danda Kamandalu Hastaha Padma Pravara Sano Brahma. And for Brahman, and this is very important, Jayati Vijaya Hetu Karanam Karananam, and it must be Upajati, Paramanidhanam Ekah Jyotiratmeshwarasya, Yadadhi Vasati Vishwam Vishtapanam Vibhuti, Sthita Virati Nisarge, Swena Vishwan Mahimna. Then, this is also a very important verse as far as the Sparta religion is concerned. So, Haranarayana Brahma Tritayaya Namasada Shula Chakraksha Sutrodha Bhava Bhasita Pandine. And remember that this is in singular. So, Bhava Bhasita Pandine, Hara Brahma and Narayana, they are together and they are addressed as one. Okay. And then there is a verse for Madana. Unfortunately, it is not complete, and there is going to be a paper on this particular subject. So, I just leave it as it is. Now, about the donor class. I told you yesterday that many of the charters do not produce any genealogy. Some rulers, they refer their own parents, father, and then there are some different initiators of the grant other than the ruler himself. So there is paternal uncle or aunt, even of the other branches. So Shanti Varma asking something to be done, Raghu asking something to be done, etc. Then younger brother. Now in Priyavarta Varma's inscription you find Kakustha Varma's mentioned as Yuvaraja. Then the ruler's sons, they request the ruler to do something. And also feudatories, just like Sendraka Bhanu Shakti, he has requested Ravi Varman to issue a grant. Now there are hardly any mentions, especially in the copper plates, of the exploits of the rulers. But of course there are the stone inscriptions that help us to some extent in this matter. The titles of the kings. So, very simple titles, and this is a very long title, so to say. Swami Mahasena Matrugana Dhyataabhishiktanam Manavya Sagotranam Hariti Putranam Pratikrita Swadhyaya Charcha Paranam Kadambanam. That is about the dynasty. Dharma Maharaja Swabhujabala Parakrama Vapta Vishala Vibhavaishwarya Samyak Prajapalana Ratah Devad Vijaguru Pujaka, and then the name of the king occurs. Or Aneka Janmantaroparjita Vipula Punya Skandha. Now, Kakustha Varma calls himself Kadamba Senani. We don't know why, but he calls himself Kadamba Senani. Maybe he is not ruling actually. And yesterday I talked about this Mandatru Varma, Mrugeshwar Varma and Krishna Varma. They assume sometimes the title Vijaya Shiva. Why? We don't know why. And then Toduva Rashi and Dosha Rashi, which we have discussed yesterday. Now, taking the benefit of the Amba letters in their name, the Kadamba charters give these many variations of the titles. So, Praja Sadharanam Banam, Sarva Prajam Banam, Ashrita Janam Banam or Samsrita Janam Banam, Jagadambanam, Akhila Jagadambanam, Saddharva Sadambanam, Vibhava Pratibimbanam, Dharma Pratibimbanam, Swayashah Prasara Dhavalita Aneka Giri Nitambanam. That's a very beautiful, expression. But then I don't understand why this Shri Nitambanam comes and what exactly it should mean. I really don't understand. And sometimes they also miss something grammatically. So Adikala Rajarshi Pratibimbasya Kadambanam. It should be Adikala Rajarshi Pratibimbanam Kadambanam. Or else Kadambanam Amara Pratibimbasya. Kadambanam Amari Pratibimbanam or Kadambasya Amara Pratibimbasya. That should be the actually order. But that is missed there. But these are very beautiful expressions. Now, there are some special donis in the charters, especially copper plate charters. So in the Talagunda inscription there are 30 donis, and in the Aratalagade plate of Krishna Varman, the number of donis is 108, and we have counted, it is exactly 108. So it is not that Sahasraya Brahmanebhya Dattam, and then the names that occur there are not even 100. So that is not the case here. When he says it is given to 108 Brahmanas, 108 names are there. Okay. Then there is the donation given to Kamadevalaya. Then there is one donation given to Also the medical doctor Priya Vaidya. I don't suppose that the word Vaidya here is only mentioned as a scholar, in which the sense in which it is there actually. Then they have read it as Badiranam Gautama Sagotraya Shukla Yajurvede Abhijana Sampannaya, etc. We have read it as Khadirana, not Badirana, but that's okay. The point is that the name of the Doni does not occur in the plate at all. These are all adjectives, titles. Where is the name of the Doni? So a title or a copper plate donation without the name of the Doni. So that's a very peculiar case here. And of course there are donations given to various sects of the Jainas, but there is going to be a different paper on that, so I am not going to address to this issue just now. Now, Kadambas, they produce land measurements, so many Nivartanas, etc. But in very few cases they give actual boundaries. So just 6 Nivartana land in this particular village, that's all. Then see the Vakataka copper plate charters, which are contemporary or maybe a little later contemporaries of Kadambas, they mention the taxes and exemptions very meticulously. But there are hardly any Kadamba inscriptions which mention the exemption of taxes, or they don't enumerate the exemptions. Then there are divisions of donations among donis. Of course, there is a very peculiar case of one donation being given to 3 sects of Jainas, and in a single actually plate it is mentioned. And there are cases of renewal of old grants also. So this is a case of renewal of grant, the Malavalli famous inscription, and we suppose that it is Purva Datti, and this ruler is giving it again. And similarly, the Mrugeshwaraman plate, it says that it was given by Priyavrata Varma and Mandatru Varma, and I am actually reissuing the same plate. Now what about the Lekhakas, who are the creators of the charters? So there are 9 plates where the Lekhakas are given, and in one stone inscription. And of course, one spurious plate also gives the name of a Lekhaka. The number of incomplete inscriptions is 4, and that is why their Lekhaka, whether it was there or not, it cannot be ascertained. Now, Kadambas are using, early Kadambas are using a good number of imprecatory and closing verses as well. So these famous common verses are there. So Bahuvir, Swamdatum, Sadattam, etc. But you see, the Hitna Hebbagiru plate, it has specifically said that it is a Bhishma Gita Shloka. Purvadattan Gujatibhyo Yatnat Raksha Yudhishthira Danam Va Palanam Shreshtham Danat Shreyonu Palanam. Now, you must have read Rama Gita or Manu Gita, Vyasa Gita, etc. Vyasa Gita is okay. But Manu Gita, Rama Gita, they actually have no pairing. In fact, these verses, the imprecatory or closing verses, they are given in an order in the Anushasana Parvan of the Mahabharata. In the critical edition of the Mahabharata, this particular adhyaya is actually supposed to be an interpolation, but it has been given in the appendix. So Anushasana Parvan, appendices, appendix adhyaya number 60 is actually the imprecatory verses of Bhumidana. So all these verses occur there, or most of them they occur there. Now in one case, they have missed the first line. So only Yasya Yasya Yada Bhumis Tasya Tasya Tada Phalam, that's all, finished. Then there is also a Rama Gita Shloka, as I told you some time ago. In a spurious plate, this verse occurs, Nyatvacha Punya Phalam Abhipalayatum Vishalam, etc. etc. Or Ragat Pramadat Athavapi Lobhat Yastani Himsyad Yahabhumi Palaha Tat Punya Vrudhyartham Abhun Nimittam Shri Kirti Namachu Tu Cha Tat Kanistha. And very beautiful verses they actually give in these particular plates. Now the Kashipura plate, it gives the most number of verses. Normally in early plates you find 2 verses, sometimes 3, but this plate it gives altogether 5 verses, and all of them are not really famous, or they have not actually held upon the history in the later times. So, but the verses are very beautiful, and particularly the last one, Ashani Hatam Agni Dagdham Chora Haram Rajadanda Paribhushitam Bhavati Kila Savashesham Nacha Brahmana Manyuna Hatam. Sorry. So, they have got a great literary merit also, these the opening verses as well as the closing verses. There is a peculiar case of the king being mentioned in a closing verse. So, Shri Dosharashi Varmatma Dharmena Prithivim Chiram Simhasana Varasina Sukhe Naiva Rakshitu. And then lastly he calls Namo Vishnave. Actually, this reminds us of the Bharatavakyas of Bhasa. Okay, so the Bharatavakya, Imam Sagara Paryantam, Himavad Vindhya Kundalam, Mahimekata Patrankam, Rajasimha Prashastuna. So that is a peculiar Bharatavakya of Bhasa. So this verse actually reminds me of that Bharatavakya. I don't know why. And the imprecatory verses in Jaina plates, they are also very peculiar. So, Yasmin Janendra Puja Pravartate Tatra Desha Parivruddhi Nagarana Nirbhayata Taddesha Swaminan Chorja. A beautiful arya. Then the next one, I don't know why this verse has not become famous amongst the Jainas as an opening verse, but here it is a closing verse. Vardhatam Vardhamana Arhachasanam Sanyamasanam Yenadyapi Jagat Papu Punja Prabhanjanam. And then the last thing, it is a spurious plate, but it gives 3 verses as closing verses. The Devgiri spurious plate of Krishnavarman and Devavarman. Now the most important thing is that out of the Kadamba inscriptions that bear closing matter and closing verses, there are 15 inscriptions which bear no verse at all. So it is in about, see, four inscriptions I told you are incomplete, so 56. So 56 minus 15. So it is 41 inscriptions out of 66 or 60, you may say, the genuine ones, which have imprecatory or closing verses. So that's how we have revisited the Kadamba inscriptions in a different manner. Swasti Sarvebhya. Dhanyavada.